So this is another demonstration screencast of our education module here this afternoon. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to break down everything that we make available in the education module. Now, the education module was originally targeted to JATCs inside local unions, and it really is intended as a student information system. A lot of people confuse an SIS versus an LMS. An LMS actually focuses on content delivery. That's not what our system does. Our system is all about recording the information, the demographic information related to your students, prospective students in the way of applicants or individual journeymen that may come back for continuing education. So it manages all of that behind the scenes data. Information like indentured date, the obvious demographics associated with the person themselves, like address, street, telephone, email, etc. In addition to that, it'll manage their complete class history. It'll manage what courses they've taken. If you've got a particular program, you can actually place that program into the system. And the platform, Union Fusion, can do a differential analysis at any point to see where the individual may be deficient or what they have left to accomplish in the program. There's all kinds of variability. Of all of the modules that we manage in the system, the education is probably the most mature because of its longevity. We've been working on the education module now since around 2008. End of 2008. So it's been in there for some time. There are dozens and dozens of system reports. We manage extremely well the process of upgrades. That is the process of taking an apprentice who's enrolled in the program up from one level to the next. We track all of the details surrounding the OJT. In fact, we track all of the details with respect to the OJT labor categories that may be associated with the specific craft or specific type of work that your apprentices are being trained in. All of that is stored, managed historically inside of the OJT module. In addition, we can provide students with access. We have the capacity to incorporate billing on classes and to have students pay for that or to have contractors pay for it. Different organizations have different policies when it comes to having the students pay for their education. In any case, as I mentioned, it's probably our most mature module. There are all sorts of integration points with respect to the finances that are in there. We do support the concept of continuing education for things like CPR, welding classes that you may host for journeymen that are coming back to your facility to train on that. You can actually have them do their registration online. And a number of other pieces. We do the obvious things as well and very well. Things like creating a course, creating the related classes for the course, doing grading on the class, doing attendance on the class, having structured modules within the class, associating files that the students would access in the class, and so on and so forth. There are different integration points as well with respect to the contractors and the level at which they can access the information associated with the students. That's a very common question that I get in demonstrations is, how much control does the contractor have? Well, the answer to that question is, it depends. How much control do you want them to have? We can craft the security permission group for the contractor admins just about any way you like. In any case, and without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the education module. So to access the education module, it's the simple menu over here. I've got this one expanded and I've got focus on the students grid. This is just demonstration data, so the list is short. We support organizations that have anywhere from 40 students to 1,000 or more students that are part of the apprenticeship program. So the system is extremely capable in terms of managing large volumes of data and obviously small volumes of data. Besides the students, we also support applicants and applications coming in. We can actually create custom applications that are built within the confines of the platform and integrate them directly with your website so that you can have prospective apprentices who are interested in the program come onto the website, click on an application, fill out the information, put their name, address, answer some specific questions that you have for your particular program, and it'll take all of that information once they submit it and drop it directly into the platform. So then you see them as an actual applicant, and you can go through a process of ranking them and or asking for additional information. So there's all kinds of possibilities with respect to tracking applicants. It should go without saying that obviously we're tracking information about instructors. We have a formal list here in the menuing system that shows you the current instructors to the program, classes and courses. So our platform follows a model where the course is simply a template for the class. This is true in most traditional schooling. You can look at high school models or college models. You take classes, and classes are an instance of a specific course, let's say English 101, but they're an instance. They're being taught at a specific location in a specific time frame by one or more individuals. All right? So courses and classes are very much related. One of the things we encourage people to do in the process of developing out their education module properly is to take their time documenting well all of their courses. And then the classes, when you get ready to create the classes and associate students with those classes, the process goes very quickly. While we don't have a lot of groups using our built-in test builder for developing test questions, there are some that do. This is a full-fledged system for actually developing your own tests. The nature of the questions themselves, there's a great deal of variability that we provide in there. So we allow you to do things like multiple choice questions, true and false questions. If you're doing it electronically, you can actually have them fill out a Word document and submit the file online by responding to a submit your document type of question. They can answer with respect to dates. I think there's about 15 to 20 different types of questions or ways that you can ask questions within our system. Those questions and the related tests, we can drive metrics out of those if you're interested in using those. You can also deliver those electronically. Let's say that you've got a class of students and you want to deliver it to those students between the hours of 12 and 2 over the weekend on Saturday. You can actually accomplish or do something just like that when you're using the system in a fully electronic capacity. Within these programs, it's also very common that there are evaluations that go in different directions. And we're going to support everything that's common in the industry in that regard. And let me just overview it for you real quickly. So within the evaluations, by the way, the evaluations themselves, they utilize the same engine that we utilize in the test question builder. And so you can create the evaluations to ask any number of questions in any number of ways. The evaluations themselves are designed to go to the instructor for the instructor to relate the students, or to the student for the student to evaluate the instructor. Another way is they can go to the contractor admin, who would be the representative there, and the contractor administrator can also look at the students that belong to that organization and evaluate them. If the process is done electronically from end to end, there's a full, really nice workflow that's put in place so that those evaluations, when they're complete, go into the permanent repository for each of the individuals that are involved in the process. If you permit it, obviously the students could see the evaluations that the instructors or the contractors would have provided on them. And then in addition to that, as with most all of our other modules, we've also got a settings. This is really just a configuration area related to that particular module, and it allows your organization to customize the way that the education module behaves within the system. There is significant variability in the industry to justify obviously the settings module and the configuration, particularly given we support 300 plus organizations in this space. So there's a lot of different configuration options that exist out here that allow your organization and to customize it or to configure the system in keeping with the settings that you're comfortable with. In addition to the settings, and as part of that configuration, we can set up and create evaluation templates. I was speaking about these a little bit earlier. I had alluded to the application templates. Again, these are using the same custom question engine that we use for tests. You can build out your applications to ask your prospective students anything you want. In the letter grades here, you define essentially what would be an A, B, C, D standard grading scale and what that's like within your organization. If you simply use a pass-fail, we can accommodate you there as well. The wage levels and the OJT mappings, within the wage levels, you're going to go about creating a type of skill that you're going to be training within your program. Now, a lot of union organizations, particularly the JATCs, will only have one skill. They may have two or three depending on the programs they allow there, but we allow you to create as many as you need within the program. And then related to that, the other thing we do is we allow you to take a set of labor categories and specifically relate that set of labor categories with one of these skills or crafts, okay? So let's say it's plumbing or pipe fitting. You can, if that's the program that the individual is in versus electrical, then you can create a set of OJT labor categories that are directly related with plumbing and pipe fitting. Additionally, if you had a separate program at the school that was intended for electrical, again, not common in union local JATCs, they're usually segmented, but if you did, you could create another set of an apprenticeship type that was different, electrical, with a completely independent set of labor categories that would be appropriate for that program and map them. And then the individual's apprentices themselves, they always have a designated program or apprentice type that they are. And when they go to record their OJT, they'll see the OJT categories or labor categories that directly apply to them and their program. Obviously, it goes without saying, but the OJT and the school hours are both very necessary and important in terms of that upgrade process moving from one level to the next. In any one program, there are something like typically somewhere between 7 and 10 steps, one every 6 months, where it's a percentage of journeyman wage that the apprentice will matriculate or move through in order to reach that journeyman status when they complete it out. But the system has a complete and detailed process in place for managing all of that. So let's look at some of these areas in some detail. I'm going to just go to the students grid. As with all of our grids, this information can be immediately filtered. So if I wanted to, I could come in here and just go down to Greco, and that goes to a single student. All right. These are just inline filter grids that exist as a part of the filter itself. Obviously, if you had multiple programs, I've just set one up in here for Carpenter for this dummy data. But if you had multiple programs that showed different apprenticeship types, you could store those and filter down on those. If you had individuals that were at different wage levels in the program, you could, for example, say, I want to go down to the 65 percentile and find everybody that's currently at that level. You could also do things like, I want to see individuals that are currently in the third year of school. So all of these are relevant filters that exist as part of this grid, and we've really tried to focus in on the key metrics or properties that you would do these filters or build these filters with most of the time. They're relevant because if you want to communicate with your third year students in our system, you just have to run that inline filter, click here, go all records. You can immediately text them all and send a follow-up email. Provide that information down here, and that communication is immediately stored against their record. We know our competition in this space very well, and they can't touch us in this integrated communication. We've done a fairly extensive amount of programming to build this in so that you can do that quickly and efficiently. So I'm going to go back to the student grid. It's filtered down on third year students. I'll simply remove that. Historical students, this grid here for students is really designed to show you people in the program at the current point in time. When students do eventually complete and go to a journeyman status, they're removed from this grid, not from the system, but from the grid because they're not an active apprentice. The individuals in this grid are typically your active apprentices. When you do find someone that you're interested, you can click on that individual and go to their student profile. And so let's look at the student profile here just briefly. There are all kinds of metrics that we're tracking that are part of the profile for this particular student. So you're going to want to see the things like the basic contact information up here, some additional demographics for the individual here, the company they may be currently employed with, and some contact information there. If you want, you can get immediately to the employment record. On the student info tile, you can see things like their current year, what percentage wage level they're at, when they received their last upgrade, when's their next upgrade, things very relevant to the program. These metrics over here are typically warehouse values. Now I've got zeros in here, but in all of our systems where they're recording OJT or they're recording school hours, these numbers are typically in the hundreds or thousands as far as the values go. And they're dead on accurate. These numbers give you an immediate overview at where the student's at in terms of the current maturity level of the program as a whole, and so that also is a part of their profile. In addition to that, you can see upcoming class days. Now, I enrolled this person in just two different classes here, the basic math and the measurements class, but it shows their upcoming class days, when they're scheduled, and you could actually go to that class if you wanted. You can see what they're currently enrolled in down here and navigate immediately to that class if you want directly from the student profile. In addition to that, if they've got membership information or if your local is using our platform in a more comprehensive or enterprise capacity, you click on the member profile and you can see membership data, dues information that exists over here, and so forth. You can see the last payment date on membership, when they were currently paid through on dues, things like that. I'm going to navigate back to the student profile. As with other people in the system, irrespective of the role that a person might be in, within our platform, we've got a very clever and efficient way of tracking and showing related data. And you simply will not find another platform that is as comprehensive as ours. I guarantee you simply won't. We've been doing this for many, many years, and our vision in this space is to ensure that we do have a most comprehensive platform for tracking all of your enterprise data against your students, against your union members, even against your retirees for things like the active benefits they may be using, pensions, health benefits, etc. We do all of that kind of soup to nuts. And so all of those things are available as well when you're accessing the student profile. I'm not going to go into details on upgrades. Again, suffice it to say, within our platform, you can build a batch. That would be everybody that's somewhat eligible for an upgrade in, say, the next evaluation period. Different groups will have different ways of evaluating folks for upgrades, but many of them do that like once every 6 months, and then they may have a follow-up month to do that. In any case, the system will automatically manage the next upgrade date, and as a result, it can populate people into this batch. Then you can deal with everybody in the batch, evaluate whether or not they're eligible. Once you've determined that they're eligible, then you would go ahead and do what you need to do there in order to manage the upgrade or complete the upgrade. Again, as I mentioned, there's a way to do applicants, to track applicant data, and we can do a direct integration point with your website. The applicants list is just like the students list. You would see a list of applicants. If we had some in the system, you can communicate with them. You can actually do what's called an acceptance routine, where you click on the person and accept them. There's a button that comes up here on the applicant profile in the upper right corner, and you can walk them through being accepted into the program, providing things like an indenture date and some other important pieces of information as they come in. I'm going to go ahead and just wrap that initial part up on students and applicants as an education part one. We're right at the 20-minute point in terms of this overall video, and I am going to cover in more detail some of the additional items, the applications, what they are, obviously instructors. And then I want to spend some time talking about classes, courses, grading, and attendance. I'm going to break this out into, at least 2 parts, maybe 3, and we'll wrap it up there for this first part on this screencast.